From the words of the late great Bob Marley. He said, get up, stand up for, again, get up, stand up. So today we stand in unity and in solidarity, echoing Marley's call to action as we demand what is rightfully ours. What is rightfully ours?
We lost the live just now due to battery being low, so we're now connecting back with you, our viewers online. Please share the live.
Not for the weak. We are standing in solidarity for livable salaries. For too long, our voices have fallen on deaf ears. This government has continued to neglect the promises to teachers. Have you heard me? Yeah. This government who knew prior to getting into government what teachers should have gotten have now failed to listen to the cries of teachers, and so we will continue to demand what is rightfully yours. No retreat, no surrender. No retreat, no surrender. Just imagine the Ghana Teachers Union would have submitted their multi-year proposal since 2020. This is 2024. And Ali, I want to call him Ali, has the audacity to tell us teachers to what? To wait. What he said to us? Well, let me tell you something. Patients can be found in hospitals. Patients can be found where? In hospitals. And teachers are in. Teachers are in. We don't have that patience anymore. 3 years is enough. And we are not going to give the President of the Republic of Guyana another time. Now is the time. No.
Good night, everyone. I know that you have been waiting for quite some time, but don't worry, we're right here. These kinds of technical difficulties, we have them from time to time. It's been a good day. It's been a good week. I'm sure you were having a good time from last Wednesday to now. And so I want to say good night, good night, good night to our friends who are watching us from Paris, those who are watching us from Switzerland, those who are watching us from Turkey, those in St. Lucia, those in Barbados, all across the Caribbean, and right here in Guyana. Good night to you. And of course, we can't forget our friends in the UK and those in the US who are watching us. Again, today, day 13 of the teachers' strike across this country. Day 13. And we continue to look at the struggles of our teachers across this country. And it rings the bell. And you try to find out, why isn't the government listening to teachers? Why isn't the government ready to talk to teachers? But we're going to go a little more into that for tonight. We're not going to wait any longer. We're going to bring our guest right on. He's no stranger to these kinds of forums. He's a man for the people. Dr. Adams, good evening and welcome. Let me bid you a royal welcome, as a matter of fact, to Advancing the Cause. It's day 13 of the teachers' strike here all across Guyana. Your thoughts?
Good night to my esteemed MP and great leader of the GTU, and welcome to our listeners. This here is, and I want to congratulate you. You congratulate on positive things, but trust me, you folks, you're the heroes, and you will go down in history. When history is written here, this here is not only about the teacher strike. This here is about a nation and building a nation. You have decided to draw the line and for us to move forward to do what is right for this country. So I want to congratulate you in that respect. But let me get right at, I'm an engineer and I can't keep away from numbers. Numbers don't lie. And to start with, uh, Guyana, as the here we are with the highest GDP in the Caribbean and per capita probably ranked among the top in the world. And believe it or not, folks, Guyana has the lowest salaries for teachers in the entire Caribbean. Give you some numbers. Trinidad and Tobago, a teacher average 1,500 US dollars. Guyana average, and I run some quick calculations. The average salary of a teacher in Guyana is $179,000. Of course, there are some who make like 91. I don't know how they live in it. And as you recall, the vice president was asked if he can live on $85,000. So the question that he has never answered. He just goes off as usual into his own little thing. So here it is that Trinidad and Tobago is making twice, because that 179 converts to $856 per month average salary for a teacher in Guyana. Trinidad and Tobago makes 1,500. That's about twice. Grenada, that doesn't produce any oil, makes $1,890. Grenada. Dominica, folks, Dominica makes $1,670, 1,670. Even Antigua, even Antigua makes $1,110, and then of course St. Martin is 2,714. So here again is the country with the highest GDP, and teacher salaries are the lowest. So let me go back to these numbers now. This $179,000 per year, if and when you look at the whole bill for a teacher on an annual basis is 29 billion Guyana dollars. 29 billion. And let's put that aside for a moment, because I'm going to get back to it. And the question, of course, how, like I said, how could you expect any human being to live on $91,000 per month? And this is not only about a teacher. I'm sure that every teacher has a family of maybe an average, maybe 3 or 4. And here's the other thing that needs to be brought to the attention of these folk, of everybody. The vice president in his press conferences, and I listen to it all the time just to be so that I could come back and dispute. It just filled with lies. And the one thing that he keeps mentioning all the time is that the only thing that the opposition is interested in is to spend the money on feeding the people. So this guy he's not hiding it, that he's got a disdain for poor people and satisfying their basic needs. He said, when I heard it the first time, I almost fell out of my chair. And in the same press conference, he repeated it again, that all they want to do is spend the money to feed the people. Now, here's his new line. He started it, I think, the press conference before, but his new line now, his new song and dance is that, the education budget increased by 162% from 2020 to now to 2024. Well, you see, this is how deceitful he is and how devious he is. He doesn't mention that the capital budget or the infrastructure budget increased by 800%, 5 times what the education budget increased by, even though the teachers part of that education budget is a small amount. So keep those numbers in mind. Whenever he talks about this 162% increase in education, let him ask him about the 800% increase in infrastructure that are going to his friends. He doesn't mention that in the coalition government, teachers got an average of 9%, when there was basically no oil, and now he wants to give them 6.5% oil. So those are and then the president is telling you folks to have a conscience. Now, how could they talk about a conscience? And remember now, and I'm sure the honorable MP could recall, these were the same people who decried and lambasted the opposition when the opposition and they raised the MP salaries, the minister salaries by 50%. They talked about it for 4 years, and we have even won the elections from it. And they promised that they're gonna retract it. Well, not only have they not retracted it, they have increased their salaries based on the reports by an average of about $300,000 per minister. So here it is that a teacher salary, average salary is about $179,000, but their pay increase is almost twice what a teacher is making in their salary. And then of course, with the other benefits, their children, they don't care about this strike because their kids are going, guess where? To private schools. So those are as an introduction. And I don't know if correct, if you want me to go on, but I can wait, get it for later if you want to chime in here, or I can continue, and got there are lots more that I need to say.
Well, I just want to chime in by having the operator put up this clip for us. It's just what you were relating to just now. And, it is amazing, folks, that the vice president now, who was the opposition leader back then, he chided President Granger then, and he said to him, cut on travels, cut your spending on dietary, cut your spending on the rental of buildings and use those monies to pay the teachers. The very vice president now is allowing his president, well, according to the teachers, the acting president, to travel all across this globe. And look, here is what a teacher is saying. Out of government, 50% increase for public servants. In government, 6.5.
Yep.
Those are the people that we have to deal with. Dr. Adams, all over to you.
So let's get back to this 50% increase, which is a reasonable. Again, folks, it's not a case where we don't have the money. The budget, the infrastructure budget of the portion, the allocation for infrastructure in this budget is 58%, meaning for every $100 in that budget, 58% goes to infrastructure. And guess who is getting the hog of that? It's their friends. Look who are getting the construction projects. It's their friends and families. The teachers' budget, that $29 billion that I told you about, it's 2.5% of that budget. 2.5%. And then the ministers' salaries, like I said, they hadn't, not only did they not give back the money that they claimed that they would have given back, but their increases. So now I saw a report where the Minister of Education, for example, is getting like close to $2 million per month. So compare 2 million to teachers getting about $100 and something thousand. So here is, if at a minimum, a teacher deserves, even this would even not even get you up to where the Trinidad teachers and the rest of the Caribbean are. If you get a 55%, a 50 to 55%, that would be about $100,000 per teacher. So let's say you do $100,000 per teacher. That adds up to $14 billion. If you take that $14 billion out of that $666 billion that we have for infrastructure, only $14 billion, you'll be left with you're still left with $652 billion in that infrastructure. So you're only taking like 1% away. So why can't you, even if it's $100,000 you give the teacher, which is, at least a start, because they're worth more than that. So, but no, you want to give 6%, and that would only be the same 50% that you have been, calling for when you were in the opposition. So, it shows that their dishonesty and hypocrisy. Now, here is the connection to oil.
Doc, if I could just hold you there
for a
absolutely. Minute. Just if you can take a look at the slide that we have on the screen there.
Yep, exactly. Yep, exactly. They don't even have to, you guys are out taking a lot of sun. I mean, you guys are taking sun, you're walking, your feet are tired, I'm sure. When you go home at nights, you got kids to take over. And she just gets out of her car. She's got security. She's got maid. She jumps in her car. She drives around in an air-conditioned vehicle, air-conditioned house. And here you folks, for your measly little salary, I don't know how anybody in Guyana could get by with $91,000 per month or $180,000 per month. It's insane, and it's cruel. It's cruelty and callous. But here's the other thing. Here's we just mentioned like the 50% that they were talking about. So let's connect this whole thing to oil. I cannot believe that every week the vice president comes up with a different excuse. So here is his latest excuse, which is you talk about being disingenuous and dishonest. Here is his latest excuse. He says, what happens if we give the teachers this, let's say, whatever, a bigger raise, and the raise that I'm recommending is this, which is at a minimum, is this $100,000 per teacher, which is about 55%. Guess what he says? If we give them anything more than 6.5%, this is what he said, and I quote, What happens if oil prices drop? How are we going to fund and keep it sustainable? Now, and then he says, and what will we say to all of the nurses, policemen, and sugar workers? This man is devious and divisive. Now, as ridiculous as it is, he promised you all, oh, hold on until 2027. Well, what he's saying there, that is disingenuous, because he's also saying, what happens if oil prices go down? There's no guarantee. He's telling you to wait till 2027, but now he's making an excuse. I can't give you all any arrays because I don't know what's going to happen now next year or by 2027. But at the same time, he's telling you to have patience and wait until 27. On top of that, they're investing in infrastructure. He doesn't say what will happen if oil prices go down with with all of those projects that they're starting and those loans that they're taking. He's not worried about those. That is occupying 58%, and the loans, the billions of dollars in loans that they've got to put back. But he's worried about your little two, or this the what, where it's 1%, it will be less than 1% increase. So you can see where they're just being totally dishonest. And on top of that, this is the same excuse that they use for not doing ring fencing, meaning that each project pay for its own. Like for example, right now, if they had ring fence the project. By the way, here's another thing that he got up in Parliament and yelled and shouted and said that the previous government had given away their patrimony of this country, and every Guyanese, listen to this, he's on video. Every Guyanese should be sad at every barrel of oil that is discovered. He's on video saying that. And he denied it, but he's on video. So here he is saying what he said, but no. And then, he said ring fencing. We must have ring fencing when we get it. And we must renegotiate the contract. Of course, all of that has changed since he got in. But going back to his quote, that what happens if oil prices drop? He is, by not ring fencing, he is postponing the income that we should be getting up front by not ring fencing, because we should be getting real 50% right now, or at least close to 50%. We're getting 14.5% because we've already finished paying off for the first two projects. So we should have been getting 50%. But he's saying, oh, let's wait until later. We're going to get more money. Well, what happens if oil prices drop? You're not going to get more money. You will be losing all the money that you've lost here. And the other thing is, he had to stick in this divisiveness in it. He said, okay, you guys are talking about the teachers. What will happen to the nurses, the policemen? And of course, he had to stick in the sugar workers. So that is what we're dealing with here, our honorable MP.
Dr. Adams, we hear this talk about, of course, before, let me say to our viewers, when the president, Dr. Ali, when he collected our package, our proposal, as a matter of fact, and we kept writing to him, he responded to us by saying he has a comprehensive package for teachers. Now, recently, we learned that there is some best welfare package that he has for teachers, but we must wait until 2027. Now, the president did not take into consideration that while teachers must wait until 2027, every single thing in the marketplace is going up. Cost of living is not static. It is moving all the time. What happens then with our teachers? What do we decide? What do we say to our teachers? Are we saying to our teachers, well, fold your arms and sit and wait until 2027? Or are we expecting our teachers to continue to go the extra mile even when you don't have? I feel pity for my colleagues in the upper mass. The operator will show us a slide just now. One bottle of gas, $18,000. One bottle of gas. 1 pound of beef, $1,500. One packet of milk powder is $1,600. One packet of rice that we buy in Georgetown for $2,500 or maybe $1,500, somewhere there, is $8,000. And these are the teachers who receive $91,000, and it might span to about $120,000, $25,000, $140,000. Now, could you imagine how a family of 5 will be able to survive on a salary like that? Especially if the male in that relationship is a teacher and he has a wife who's at home, she's not working. You tell me how they're going to survive on that. And we've asked the president, we've asked the vice president, we've asked the Minister of Labor and Education to let's exchange for 1 month your salary with an ordinary teacher's salary. And let's see how you're going to survive on that. But you know what? It's because they care that they don't want to make the exchange, because they care.
Yep. And
here is our teachers in Upper Mass. These are our teachers in Upper Mass. And they're telling you exactly what is happening there. Food, $150,000. Clothing, $50,000. To run the house, $50,000. Internet bill, $10,000. Transportation, $60,000. And when we total that, it adds up to $320,000. Another teacher is saying there, we're in this fight. Things so tight, we're struggling to have a bite. Beef, $1,500. Farine, $1,500. Milk, $1,600. Cooking gas, $18,000. 1 bag of rice, $8,000. And they're saying Minister Priya's bag is $650,000 for her Louis Vuitton bag. And this is the way teachers have to live, and so you're trying to rationale. How can you claim to care when this is the kind of suffering that teachers are faced with? The teachers in some of these hinterland areas, they had the boats, they had the bicycles that Ranger government provided for them. They had the buses that eased their transportation woes. All of those buses, or most of those buses, have been sabotaged. The boats have been converted to friends and families to do their own business, no longer the business of education. And then these people want to tell us that they care, and they still care. And, oh, teachers, we love you. Just give us some more time. I mean, from 2020, we have been hitting at the doors up to now, and you're still asking us to wait for 2027.
Yeah, and when you wait, but again, you're not even guaranteed anything, because now they're saying what happens if all prices drop. They're saying the reason why they can't give you anything more than 6.5%. That's what the vice president said in plain words. The reason why they cannot give you more than 6.5% is that what happens if oil prices drop? How are they going to maintain that? So even when they tell you to wait until 2027, it's not guaranteed. And the other thing that they've said, without any question, is that the vice president has said several times, let me repeat, that the only thing the opposition is interested in is feeding the people. He said that several times. So you can see where their interest is putting almost 60%, 60 out of every $100 into infrastructure, and it goes into maybe 100 people's pockets. So that's where it's plain as the eye can see. He doesn't care about feeding the people and everything that you're talking about there. So it is grossly disingenuous at best. So that's what we're dealing with.
The World Bank has said to us that even though Guyana is ranked the 10th richest country in the world, our poverty line has increased. And this is not Dr. Adams, this is not Coretta McDonald. This is what the World Bank is saying, that poverty has increased in Guyana, even though we are considered, quote unquote, the new Dubai, or the new little Dubai, or the new Dubai of the Caribbean. This is what our people have to face. And somehow, I don't know, maybe the vice president doesn't understand quite a lot of what he's saying many times, because every time he speaks at a press conference, the goalpost is shifted. It is shifted. It is shifting. It is shifting. I remember when he started out with the GTU, And he went out there and he abused off like he would normally do. And he said the strike was political. When he did not get the kind of reaction he wanted, he said, oh, it was about Coretta McDonald. And he started talking about Coretta McDonald. When he did not get the kind of traction, then he went on to talk about Mark Light, the president, and Mark Light has an auto deal and he has a supermarket. And when he did not get the traction, he moved off from that. And then he talked about the GTU's books were not being audited, but yet we will not strike them off. He didn't get any traction. So he moved from there and he is now on to a different angle he's now taking. This man doesn't seem to understand what he's saying. And like I told a few folks the other day, it seems as if, the number figures in terms of his age is really catching up with him because he's all over the place, all over. And if you know the guy, he keeps making excuse after excuse after excuse. Every time he recognizes that you catch up with him, he jumps to something else. But in this oil-rich economy, where are we under this government?
Yep. And he doesn't care. Here we've got, and here's another key metric. The United Nations, UNICEF, United Nations for the Children Fund for in the United Nations, and the World Bank, there was a study that was done just a few months ago. I'd even written something about it. Guyana has the highest malnutrition rate in the entire region. Our malnutrition rate is worse. Listen to this, it's worse than Haiti. It's worse than Haiti. We have, when you put the averages together within this region, Guyana is twice as bad as the average. We have a worse malnutrition rate than Haiti, which is supposed to be one of the poorest countries in the world. That's where, for kids. So that is our future, and I hope that he's listening, because let me educate the vice president here, because apparently he's got everything upside down. Education and not infrastructure is the number one criteria for building an economy and to attract investors. This is not what I said. This is what the United States, when I worked I worked at the highest level of the US government, and this was what, when we built our budget, it had to be based on education. That's where we focus. This is studies that came out of Harvard and MIT and those the best schools in the world. Education, not infrastructure. As a matter of fact, infrastructure, we realized when we had the war in 2008, when we had the economic disaster throughout the world, we recognized that it wasn't, everybody used to think it was infrastructure. You build it, they're going to come. It's not that anymore. That paradigm has shifted. As a matter of fact, infrastructure is number 3. Number 2 after education, you know what it is? To follow the rule of law. And our government is not even doing that. So we're turning everything on top of its head to go into infrastructure, which is the old paradigm. And we're even abusing that to enrich our friends. So that's why teachers are so important. Teachers are the foundation of building an economy, because they're the ones and teachers are not only there to teach math and science. It's way beyond what teachers do. They probably for the most part, spend more time with the kids in many cases than the parents. They're the ones who mold and build character in those kids that is so important for a nation. So to just diminish these requests from the most important people in our society is either just ignorant or just callous. And I believe it's a mixture of all of the above. So I'm hoping that the pressure that is being put on this government this time will make a difference, because Guyana needs teachers. Guyana needs a good education system. And trust me, Exxon knows that, because I used to be in the training with the Exxon executives. So they know because the whole thing is we used to have these training sessions with all the executives of all these major corporations. And I remember being with folks from Exxon. So they know education, but of course they're not going to come in. They're working very closely with the government, and they're going to do whatever the government wants as long as they can make money. And this is not only about Exxon. This is just total investors. It's education that attracts them to your country. Oil, by the way, oil will only be here for about 20 to 30 years. When oil is gone, we need to start taking the money from the oil and building that, investing in that sustainable economy, that to make us sustainable after all. And it starts with education. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. And Exxon would agree with that. But these guys have things turned upside down, but they don't care. As long as they get rich right now, they fill their pockets. It doesn't matter what Guyana is for, with the next few days, decades. Correct. That's why what you folks are doing is so important to this country. It's so, and I'm hoping and praying that you'll be joined by the others in the country, like even the parents. And I noticed you've got some parents coming out now with the kids, but you need to have the other unions, the GPSU. You remember, we're repeating history here. In 19, or you might be too young for that. You might have read the history. In 1963, I was a little kid. I remember that generation. You know where it started? It started with the public servants. That's where it started. So it's just like if we're repeating history here. And that history was written by those folks then. Our history will be written by you as we for our future. So don't be despondent. You guys, this year is a heroic effort on your part, but you still need the support from the entire nation. Black, Indians, yellow, pink, Amerindians. It doesn't matter. This year is about the entire country. It doesn't have anything to do with race and anything else. It has to do with where is this country going for the future. And so that's what this is about. It has nothing. And then the other thing I've got to touch on this. The guy accuses you. This is the same guy that used to be talking about you, heralding you, how you used to go to him when they were in the opposition. You used to go complain against the same party now that you were an MP. And now he's coming to say it's political. Now, how could it be political as far as you're concerned, personally, when you were against your own party, going to the opposition for help? But now he's saying that you're political. The other thing is, they suddenly started questioning your finances. But when folks ask him, somebody asked him a question and he got into a tizzy. They asked him, okay, how about all the money that you guys have been sharing out in bags to farmers? And how are you accounting for that? And he started fumbling around and stuttering and everything else. But he's coming after you to make up stuff, to gin up things, to be negative. But that's how that guy behaves. But again, you folks are out there. You're doing a great job, and I and others are appealing to everyone in Guyana to come out and support you in whatever way they can. Because I'm telling you, I can tell you in the diaspora, I have not got a negative comment from anybody. Well, in the diaspora or even people from on any of the chats that I'm on, never heard any negative comments. Now, there might be some who are afraid to come out and speak.
Yes,
but
that's true.
But they're supportive and they hope that it goes in the right direction. So you guys are on the right track, and don't let them turn you back. This is important not only for you, for that cause. That cause goes way beyond the teacher strike. That cause goes to the building this foundation for the nation. We're at the crossroad. We are at the crossroad, and you guys are gonna lead. You guys are leading us along the road that we should be taking.
Dr. Adams, joining us on this protest, we have seen parents coming out. We've seen parents bringing their children and joining us. And if you look carefully there, you're going to see some overseas-based Guyanese. One that we're seeing right now, she was a teacher right here. She left here a couple of years ago. She lives in the US now. She has completed her doctorate, and the amount of money she's working for, and she's not a principal as yet,
Mm-hmm.
but her salary for 1 month is almost 8 times that of a teacher in Guyana. And she is trying to figure out to herself, how is it that Guyanese teachers are still living here? How is it that Guyanese teachers can still afford a bus fare for a learner? How is it that Guyanese teacher could still afford a meal for a child who in her class is hungry? But you know what? Our teachers are committed to the cause. They are dedicated to what they do. And you know what? To supplement their meager salaries, our teachers, they drive taxis in the afternoons after school. They sell fudge and icicle and tamarind ball. They work at Giftland in the afternoon. They're security guards at nights. They have weeding machines that they rent or they borrow from persons, and they give them a commission, and they're weeding persons' yards. That's the level that we have brought our teachers down to. And Dr. Adams, you would know that in your time growing up, the teacher was one of the most respectable person, or that profession was one of the most respected profession in this country. Now teachers have got to battle with every single other person. Nobody has respect for teachers. Teachers are teaching students. They go off to secondary school. They graduate with 5, 6, 8 subjects, and you know what? They go and enlist themselves in the Guyana Defense Forces Cadet Officers Program. And a year or so after, they are driving and the teacher is walking. You know,
Yep. Oh,
teachers have served this nation, and you check how many teachers are able to have a home of their own. And that's
I
the reality.
oh I can tell you, and that's why when even here in the United States, when I go give speeches across North America, and I always, my story always come from where I came from, in the alleys of Christianborg. And had it not been for teachers, and I always tell a story, there were two young teachers, and they literally held my hands in everything that I did. I played cricket for Guyana. It was because of them. And all of my education, I remember there was a teacher by the name of Hector Paris, a famous teacher in Christianborg. You probably know his brothers, but they're all into education. Never forget, as an 11-year-old, I got benched. I don't know if they bench folks nowadays with a wild cane. I got benched by Hector Paris for bringing third place in class. I brought third. And I walked up to get my prize, and I was grinning from ear to ear. And he benched me for bringing third place. But in those days, you looked at teachers, and when a teacher, when you get whipped in school, you better not go. You're praying that the teacher doesn't tell your parents. We're lucky in those days that we didn't have cell phones and telephones, because if they only know that you did anything bad in school, or you give the teacher some back chat, you get another whipping at home. But that's the kind of, but now you're hearing teachers beating up, I mean kids beating up teachers, all of that. you
Mhm,
know it has to stop. Teachers, so not only are teachers working hard, they're even at risk, and they're at risk of getting injured. So I mean, I cannot overemphasize how important you folks, the job that you are doing. And so that's the encouragement that I would like to. And here's the other thing. When I see that I mean, they're so vindictive
mhm,
that now they're
mhm,
saying that they're
mhm.
not gonna they're not gonna take out your union dues.
Yep.
Well,
Mhm,
here's my friendly advice to you, Coretta, and trust me. take them to court, and you know what's the grounds? Disparate treatment, discriminate. If they are deducting money from other unions and they're not doing it for yours, that is disparate treatment in the law, and it's clear, crystal. So they cannot escape that. Why don't they want to do it for you folks, but they're doing it for other unions? It's
Well,
the vindictiveness. And by the way, Mr. Jadu himself, that's why I like to look at this press conference, because his mouth runs so much he can't help himself. He said one day that he is how vindictive he is. He said that he is vindictive. That's what those words came out of his own mouth. He said, that he's vindictive. But that's what we're dealing with, and you folks just need to push on, and you've got all of our support.
Dr. Adams, I just want to share with you and our viewers that the GTU filed 2 court actions, and we were supposed to have those matters being heard tomorrow. Unfortunately, we saw coming from the courts through our attorney, and he is saying to us that the attorney general has asked for more time. Now, this is the attorney general who professes to know the law at the tip of his fingers. This is the man who has been out there all week last week and this week, lambasting the GTU and talking about the law and the law and the law. And we did not expect that this very man is now asking for more time. So you understand what they're doing here? The delaying tactics. The delaying tactics. This very same thing they were doing with us since 2020 are the same things that they're employing, the same strategies they're employing again. Why is it that you have to ask for more time? You stood up there and you said, we will challenge that. We will stand up in court and fight it. But yet you are now asking for more time. Is it because you know that our case has merit and you will not be able to escape that? And so you are trying to delay the time? What is it? We must hear from we must hear from this superhuman. We must hear from this I don't even have words to tell him, with all them law books that he eat up and swallow and everything. I don't know what words to describe him as, but it's quite saddening. Our teachers, I can tell you today, they were so disheartened and disappointed today when they learned that the court matter will not be aired. It will not be heard tomorrow because the government has asked for more time. But you know what? This here is causing our teachers to be even more resolved and resilient.
But this attorney general.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry about that. But the first thing this attorney general needs to understand what his role and responsibility is. This attorney general is not the attorney general for the People's Progressive Party Civic. This attorney general is the attorney general for the people of Guyana.
No, he doesn't understand that.
So that's the first thing but these folks, and then they tell you about being political. What could be more political than the attorney general? Is every single thing that he does, it's political. Here's the chief law officer in the nation that is supposed to be the attorney general for the country, but he is protecting the party, not the people, the party. Yep. So that's what and I mean we are living in and people of Guyana had better take notice. I saw there was an editorial today in the Stabrook News, and I invite as many people as possible. I think it says the neon flashing light, and it tells us to be better watch of those neon flashing lights that we are seeing. And it started out with the Navalny killing, the Navalny murder or assassination by Putin in Russia, and then it talks about our 2 kids. That talked about 2 kids, that the Calypsonian and the little kid that was saying the poetry, and that they were disqualified. So those are the kinds of things that we better start opening our eyes to, because this year is heading towards total dictatorship, and we better stop it in its tracks. It just, if you don't do what they say, you suffer, and they're very vindictive.
Must let our viewers know too that our teachers on the Essequibo Coast, I know that was a shocker for all our teachers who came out on the Essequibo Coast. And that is what is hurting this government the most, that the teachers in their strongholds, who they've been calling and saying, don't go out there, don't go out there, don't bother with GTU, they are surprised that the teachers there are holding their ends. You know what they've resorted to doing? Every day they have the police now harassing the teachers on the Essequibo Coast. Every day they have them harassing the teachers. If the teachers go under the Benab there opposite the Anna Regina Multilateral School, they're asking them to remove from there. If they start, and they're locking the gate. If they stand in front there, they're asking them to remove from there. If the teachers attempt to walk down the road, they're saying you did not ask for permission, so you can't walk the streets. Every single thing that the teachers are doing there now, the government is using the Guyana police force to frustrate the teachers there. But you know what? Our teachers will continue to stand out there. Our teachers have recognized that this is no longer about the issue of salary, but that this government is now getting personal with them. They have resorted to calling teachers and threatening teachers. That's what they're doing. The NDC councillors are calling teachers. Those at the regional level, they're calling teachers. Even the education officials, they are calling our teachers. But you know what? Our teachers are not afraid. Our teachers have said to the vice president, we have a pretty young teacher there by the name of Sir Martin. And Sir Martin has said to them, this is a new generation. This is not the generation that you were dealing with before. We have technology at our hand reach. And so we have been reading and we're seeing everything that you are doing. And this issue is not political. This issue is economical. It is about our bread and butter. We're not asking for peanut butter and cheese. We're asking for bread and butter, and we'll use some water to take that down. So you can't come here to tell us about politics. Pay us the monies you owe us. Talk to our union. Don't call a few teachers and feel that they're the union and they can represent us. They have no authority to represent us. But I want our viewers to know that some of our teachers who are leading in those protest actions across this country, they are being molested, harassed, and fear is being driven into them. Our teachers in Upper Mars, we have our teacher there, Brother John Adams, who is there with the teachers, and he's leading the teachers there. He is being harassed. We have our teachers in Regions 5 and Region 6. As long as you are an Indo-Guyanese teacher and you are leading, they are harassing these teachers. And so, viewers, I just want to put you on the alert that if at any time any of our teacher or any of the teachers are injured, then you know exactly where it is coming from. Because it seems as if we cannot speak as teachers, we cannot stand up for our rights. I know that they have special branch vehicles that are trailing me, they're tracking me everywhere I'm going. You see them driving behind me. And you know what? The good thing is that I know a couple of the vehicles. I know some of the vehicles that they put all kinds of slogans on. So when they turn up behind me, I know who's driving behind me. But I want them to understand they will not create any bit of fear in me. I also want to put the Guyana Police Force on notice that the vice president and his cronies, they have exposed me to people across this country. My security is at risk because you know what? They took my vehicle and they throw it up on Facebook. and they have my number, the number for my car there and everything. So everywhere I go, people would know that this is Coretta McDonald. I want the commissioner of police acting to understand that all of these are breaches, and you jump out at other persons for cyberbullying and all kinds of things. I remember my colleague Sherrod Duncan and I think Annette Ferguson and somebody else. But when these folks are doing these kinds of things, I don't see the police going after them. And so our teachers were right to say, Ali saying one Guyana, Priya saying no Guyana. Our teachers were correct when they said, when Ali wasn't president, he know what we should get. Now that he's acting president, it seems as if he forgets. And you know, you can't stop teachers from saying these things because it's actually the reality of what is happening. Look at our little 6-year-old Minty. 6-year-old child singing a calypso that she had to sit there and learn the words, learn the tune, learn the moves that her teachers were teaching them. And you know what? Both her mother and father, they're teachers. And then you allow this child to win 2 competitions. And when she was supposed to come to the national level, you disqualify her. Now you've recognized that the song that this child is singing, it is not for her age. All because the child is saying, how can you survive on 6.5? We'll just play a little bit of that. Operator, could we play a little bit of Little Minty?
6.5. Please tell me how I must survive with 6.5. I have a born, each one made chess. I can't even rest. How cost of living, everything doubling, this thing troubling. How I must carry on with a seemingly one arm. Tell me how I must survive with 6.5. Tell me how I must survive with 6.5. Tell me how I must survive with 6.5. Please tell me how I must survive with 6.5.
You know?
Beautiful.
Yes,
Again.
so that is little 6-year-old Minty. But you know what? When they thought that they were doing something really terrible to this child, it worked out for her good. Because I can tell you that famous calypsonian Chalk Dust from Trinidad, he has made contact with her parents. And he is working out. They sent him a copy of the calypso. And this little child is going to be leaving these shores, I think, sometime pretty soon.
Wow.
To work with them. And so you see, when they set out to plan evil for children and teachers, the reality, the turnaround, it's greater than what they would have expected. And so this little child is very popular. And then we had just after that, another child was disqualified because of the poem she did. And you wonder whether these are the same people who spoke about democracy. And, you know, I'm wondering, where are the guardians of democracy? Where are the guardians of democracy? Where is Sarah Lynch's voice at this time? Wherever she is, where is her voice at this time? Where are the voices of the ambassadors, Canadian, UK, EU, all of them? Where are their voices now? Where is the democracy you spoke about? But I figure, you know, democracy is convenient when the shoes is on one foot, but when the shoes is on another foot, it's no longer democracy. When you weren't in government, 50% salary increase. Now that you're in government, 6.5.
Yep. Isn't there? Didn't I read or seen something, a clip where another kid said, or either sang or there was had some poetry or something about one Guyana, about
Yes.
one, and it was acceptable.
That one went through. That one went through. And you know, so persons were saying Isn't this one political? Isn't
Yep.
this one political? This one is top. But no, as long as you can glorify what this government is doing, it is okay. It is not political. But every time you have to talk about what they're doing, it is in a negative way, it is political. And I'm saying, if you did not want, as a matter of fact, the teachers' issue should not have even reached where it is now. It should not have been there. We should not have been on the streets. As a matter of fact, let me say to our viewers too, Dr. Adams, our teachers were having peaceful protest on the avenue in Main Street. And you know what? They were told that they can't walk on the avenue with their candles. They can't walk the avenues with their candles. They can't stop in front of the president's residence. They can't stop in front of the prime minister's residence. I mean, where are we? Where are we going? Where are we going? I mean, oh, jeez.
What we have here, MP, is that this government and the actors believe that this oil belongs to them and not the people. They don't want to have any, whatever they say go. You either take it or leave it.
Yep.
They do not behave as if this oil belongs to every single individual. So they take it, it's for them and their few friends and families, and that's all those infrastructure money. That's where it's going. Look at the same, the gas plant, for example. The gas plant, one of our biggest investments ever. Do you know what the production sharing agreement says at article number 12? That thou shalt have a feasibility study if for any use of that gas. And they just ignore it. They never did a feasibility study. They never did an environmental impact assessment. And it's required, but it doesn't matter whether they've got to break the law or do whatever it is, as long as it's about money for them. That's all it is. It's there. As far as they're concerned, this oil belongs to them. It does not belong to the people. And the people have got to stand up and tell them, no, it belongs to us, and hold them accountable. And that's, you guys, even though it's not directed at all per se, but I think it's sending the strong message that I'm giving people some courage to say, well, the teachers, they're leading the way. And it's not only about this here, but there are many, many other issues in this oil economy. And we better start fixing it now, because when it gets to a certain point where it cannot turn back. So you guys are setting the stage for some pushbacks, or else we're gonna go down a road where you cannot turn back, and that's when it's gonna get dangerous for everybody. Lost your audio.
All right. So I think our audio went just now.
Yeah.
But I want to say to our parents, this whole situation should be of grave concern to you, because your children are at home. I want to say the children of the ministers and other senior officials within government, their children are attending private schools. So they don't care about the ordinary man and the ordinary woman. Your children's education don't mean anything to them. And if you check history, this is one of the mandates of the PPP, to keep you uneducated so that they can say whatever they want to say to you and have you believe it. Their priority is not education. We have our children who are going to write the grade 6 assessment. I said that earlier. Our children, our boys and girls between the ages of 14 to 17, they're going to be writing CSEC and CAPE. But the government is not interested in that. They are just interested in showing that they have strong arms, and they're going to keep teachers out on the streets, continue to have teachers in the streets, and when the teachers are tired, then they'll return to schools. But I can say to you, our teachers have decided no retreat, no surrender. Our teachers from regions 1 to 10, they are all in this together. There are a few who have returned to school and a few who have been in school. I want to say to you, this fight is a fight for all of us. And whenever the benefits are achieved, you will benefit too. But you know what? You must come out there and give your support to your colleagues. The more we have out there, we will be even stronger. And together we are strong. So let's come out and be a part of this. Stop listening to the kind of rhetoric that this strike is political, and this strike is this, and this strike is that. This strike is about the economic stability of our teachers. That's what it's all about. It has nothing to do with politics. And so I'd be happy to see tomorrow many more of our teachers closing the school doors, because you know what? Teachers are turning up at schools and they're closing the door. The children are coming and they're being told by guards or another teacher, nothing is happening in school, so you need to return home. Parents, be mindful of when you send out your children, because when they go into schools, they aren't doing anything. No actual teaching is taking place in many of our schools. So don't let them fool you. And I can say to you, if the Ministry of Education, or by extension the government, if they were having the upper hand on this, you would see them plastering the entire Facebook with the schools that are in session and teachers teaching. All you are seeing there, them doing pinpointing a few schools. As a matter of fact, we've been traveling around, and we're seeing they're gathering students and pupils together, and they're making up 1 or 2 classes, and they're posting those pictures. And I was happy when a teacher said, yes, that is my class, but those are not my students. Those are not my students. They pulled children together and they put them in a classroom, and they took out a picture. That is being dishonest. But this is what the PPP, they are built on, a whole lot of dishonesty. And we cannot continue to allow that to fester in this land. Look, just the other day, there was this oil spill in Tobago. And we're seeing all kinds of reports coming out there. You know, we just had an issue with Venezuela, and we get the impression that Venezuela is so aggressive towards us. But yet we're hearing about oil deals being made. Huh? The president, he was up and about, and he still got up through the mediation of some of his friends, PM Mia Mortley and Ralph Gonzalez and others, and he went out to Maduro. He went out there. Why is it now that he cannot find the time to come and talk with the teachers? You can go out there to Maduro, who was doing all sorts of things. He had military men on the border. He had his boats parading and all kinds of things. Teachers don't have military boats. Teachers have never threatened your security, but yet you can't come out here to speak with the teachers. And I want to say to President Ali, just remember, teachers taught you. Just remember, teachers held your hands. And mind you, both his mother and his father, they were teachers. But I guess, you know, that's another part of this story, probably, you know, that doesn't matter to him. But even Minister Manik Chand, her mother was a teacher. She has several relatives who were teachers and probably are still teachers. But I think when you have the gold spoon and you can share it around to the friends and family, others on the outside, it doesn't matter. The other issue that I want to bring to the attention of our viewers here tonight is the fact that there's an oil conference and the opposition MPs were prevented from going there. I tried to go in there and the police stopped me. They said I can't go. My colleague Nima Flew Best tried going in there today. They said she cannot go. That's an opposition MP. She's not allowed to go past this barrier. And I'm wondering, is this the very one Guyana that we talk about? What is this? Huh? Is it Guyana for one set of people and another Guyana for another set of people? And this is actually the truth. It is actually the truth, where Guyana is one Guyana for the friends, the families, the flatterers, and the favorites. But it's another Guyana for the poor and ordinary citizens of this country. Dr. Adams, where do we go from here?
Oh, well, I want to touch on that because I heard troubling news where MP Nina Fulbess was rejected at the door. I mean, this here is a member of parliament. How disrespectful and disgraceful could it get to be telling a member of parliament you are not invited? And by the way, let me remind the Guyanese folks, it was about 2 years ago at the same conference. It might have been the first or second conference. They invited everybody else except anybody in the opposition. And when they were asked about it, do you know what they said? That there's nobody in the opposition who's qualified, who's got any qualifications to be there. That was their answer. That was their
Yep.
answer. So we see where they are, and I'm glad you mentioned, because we, since we get this opportunity, we've got this platform. We ought to bring these things to people's attention. That spill that you talked about there, that you referred to in Trinidad and in Tobago, guess what is coming to light now, folks? That tug, the barge belonged to Guyana, somebody in Guyana. And then when the vice president was asked, he declares if he didn't know anything about it. Well, now it's 11 days or whatever the days is, and guess here's what the barge is named. The barge name is Kuliboy. Kuliboy. And so here's this barge that is coming to Guyana with the name of Kuliboy. They finally find out, and with this oil. And by the way, they're claiming that there's nothing, they don't know anything. There's a process for anything that oil and anything that comes to Guyana, where there has to be what is called a manifest. That has to be, it has to come to Guyana a few days or so before, to say exactly what that product is, and then we give them permission to bring it in. And if it's coming, whoever's importing it, especially if it's oil and it sounds as if it's bunker sea oil, the GEA has to get a print, a footprint. They got to take a test to figure out what this oil is really, if it's bunker C or whatever it is. All of that, there should be a record if it's above board. But here's the interesting thing is, when the barge ran aground, the guys who were driving the tug and the barge disappeared. And on top of this, MP, guess what they're finding? They're finding packages of cocaine that is floated up against the shorelines.
Wow.
So it's not only the oil spill that they've got to worry about. They're finding packages of cocaine, and they're trying to figure out, was it connected? So if you put the two together, that they ran away and nobody knows about it. It was coming to Guyana. It belongs to Guyana, but the government is saying we don't know about it. So that's what we have. As a matter of fact, here is the I was on a show with Mr. Augustine on Sunday, a Grenada network. I can't remember what his name, but he was there. So he's very, very concerned, because he said it may not even be what the oil, and I know we getting, like, I don't know if the cocaine is attached to it, but it's very suspicious. But they might be running guns and everything else.
Everything
and who
else.
knows? And you've got everybody looking when it passes through your EEZ zone. Any ship, there's supposed to be a record, a registration, to know what is coming into your waters. So they are record, but the ship is, listen to this, folks. The ship belongs to Guyana. It's named Kuliboy. So there's nothing, this is not anything that is disparaging, because my grandfather used to call me Kuliboy. My mother is Indian, my father is black. So, I used to look like an Indian. So he used to call me, that was my nickname. So this is not disparaging. The point is, that name is closely, it couldn't have been associated with no other country better than Guyana. So that's what we have here, but it shows the character, or lack thereof, of this government, and where they're focused on. It's their friend. But this here is becoming a major scandal. I want to hear what the president is the vice president is gonna say tomorrow, and hopefully the media is gonna nail him on the question. It's been 2 weeks now. What does he know about this ship that is named Kuliboy, that was heading for Guyana with product from Guyana? Where was it going? who is responsible?
The other
That
thing that we will have to find out is who will pay for the damages. That's what we have to find out.
well, here's
Who
the
will
here's
pay
here's the other
for damages?
disturbing thing. Here's the other disturbing thing. Well, of course, we've always been talking about this parent company guarantee, which is
Yep.
what the administration put when I was at the EPA. When Exxon came, when they came to us, and I said, no, we will not allow you to produce a barrel of oil until we've got a guarantee that you will cover whatever spill occurs out there, because we cannot afford. The Macondo spill in the Gulf cost us 145 billion US dollars. Our budget now, or the highest we've had, is 5 billion. So you can see the big difference. So I said, or we said, you will not, unless we get this parent company guarantee to say you're going to cover whatever it costs, the entire spill. They agreed. We put it into the permit, which means that it was in the law. And guess what? As soon as I was removed, they scrapped that. And that was what caused the lawsuit. Not only did they scrap that, they got rid of the attorney at the EPA who was working it. And they didn't stop there. Of course, the two citizens that filed the lawsuit, and Judge Kissoon ruled overwhelmingly in favor of what was already in the permit, that the coalition put into the permit. They went and joined with Exxon to appeal that case, to leave us vulnerable, so we don't have any coverage whatsoever. And then they claim they had a $2 billion deposit, which is a drop in the ocean, by the way, because you don't know how much it's going to cost. And that is why we had unlimited guaranteed coverage if something happens. So now they claim that they've got a $2 billion deposit, and now they can't show they can't show the proof of it. So these are the kinds of things, and this attorney general, they decided to bluff and said, well, y'all go down to the EPA, they're going to show you proof of this $2 billion deposit. When they went down there, there's nothing. So now they're saying, well, you got to go to court to show proof. So this is the kind of non-transparency and crookishness that is going on with this government. They don't care. I know you've got this other oil spill here, that this government of Trinidad and Tobago is figuring out who is going to pay for it, which is the question that you're asking, Coretta. So these are the kind. That is why we put things in place to make sure if anything happens, we know who will be paying for it. Here's the other thing. This wreck in Tobago, it's very small. It's like 30,000 barrels. Every single day, at the rate we're producing, every single day there will be one ship with 1 million barrels a day, not 30 barrels, 30,000, 1 million barrels a day going to be going through the Caribbean. That could go, that the same wreck can happen. The same very wreck can happen on one of those reefs. There's many reefs that we have in the Caribbean. And if we have a spill, if we can't even handle a 30,000 barrel spill, how the heck are we going to handle 1 million barrels of spill, barrel of oil spill? And who will be paying for it? Those are the questions that need to be answered right now, that this vice president and everybody else are mocking us, saying that, just let us do business. I want to know, and I keep asking him the question, you don't want Exxon to pay for it. You're saying that it's going to bankrupt Exxon. That's what he said up the last Thursday. It will bankrupt Exxon. Well, what you're saying is, so Exxon should not carry that responsibility. So if we have a spill, you're defending Exxon. You don't want Exxon to get bankrupt, but it's okay for Guyana to get bankrupt and the rest of the Caribbean to get bankrupt. Because if you're protecting Exxon, somebody has to pay for it. So you were saying it's okay. I don't want Exxon to get bankrupt. However, I'm going to take the responsibility for us getting bankrupt. That's what we're dealing with. They have no care about the people that they're supposed to be protecting. It's all about themselves and their friends and family. It's clear every single day in all aspects.
We talk about the cocaine that they're finding there, and I'm sure that will not have an owner too. And it brings me right back to when the PPP came into office in August. Just a couple of days, I think, after that, there was the largest cocaine bust coming out of Guyana. And it's the same thing the vice president did. then didn't know who the consignment was who was the consignee, who it was going to. He did not know anything. As a matter of fact, when persons asked about the cameras, whether they had camera footage, he didn't know. He said the cameras weren't working. But you know what? The people's way out in Germany, I think it was, they had all the footage to show, and we right here had none. And so this is all saying that this government, they are part and parcel of happening. They are part and parcel of this skullduggery. But I want us to continue to focus not only on the oil spill and the effects that it will have on us as Guyanese people, but I want us to continue to focus on the teachers' issue. More than that, while we're talking about the oil spill, I just remember this ferry that we're going to be having. I know that our time is catching up with us, but I just want to remember the ferry that we're talking about that will be moving between Barbados, Trinidad, Guyana. And then you're hearing that it has some wrongs that it will make in Venezuela, and it will be going to Suriname. Now, all of these are things we should be concerned about. If we're having issues with Venezuela, why do we have a ferry that's going to Venezuela? Is it that we're going to be transporting, Venezuela has the elections this year. Are we going to be transporting some Guyanese from here to go and help Maduro win his elections there? And then the possibility to have some Venezuela here to vote, and some Trinidadians and maybe some Bajans coming here based on some collaboration. These are all thoughts that are flooding your head, and I'm throwing them out here so that our people can understand what is happening. Why all of a sudden you heard about this ferry and this cheaper way of moving, and then by the time you know it, the ferry is there. Nobody is telling us about the cost and who will bear the insurance cost, and whose name would this ferry be registered in, how many times the ferry is coming to Guyana, and if there is some accident, who will be responsible. We're not hearing those things coming from them. And so these are all cause for concern. We must also be concerned that maybe cocaine might be coming from there to Guyana. Maybe guns might be coming in. So we have to be very, very mindful of all of these things, because we know the kinds of people we are dealing with. But folks, I want to say to you, the teachers' struggle will continue until this government decide that they want to speak to the union. Just the same way you are talking to a particular union, you should be able to talk to us. The proposal that we would have submitted to you since 2020, you had enough time to study it to come up with your counter proposal. Dr. Adams, before I take your closing remarks, we are going to put up on screen GTU's banking account, banking information for persons who are desirous of contributing to our teachers' strike relief fund. This fund will go for a long time, because teachers' salaries are going to be cut over a period of time. And I'm hoping, I want to put the government on alert that the laws of Guyana says that only 1/3 of a teacher's salary or a worker's salary should be cut at a time. And that the teachers, the 2/3 of that salary should be the teachers. So this kind of cutting of salary is supposed to be a prolonged one. And so teachers should not be receiving huge chunks of their monies taken away from them. And we will, if that happens, we will fight that. So for persons who are desirous of putting their little bits into that pool, here is the information for you, so that you can contribute to that fund. And we are so much grateful for all of those persons who've already made contact with us, who've already started pooling into this account, all for the benefit of our teachers across Guyana. Dr. Adams, I'll take your closing remarks before we go.
Yep. Dr. Chetty Jagan must be rolling in his grave. He built his political career upon believing in the rights for human folks, and especially trade unionism. So he must be rolling in his grave when he sees the behavior. For them to be withholding salaries from poor people because
Yep.
they're standing up for their right, I mean, this is beyond egregious. It is cruel. And and as a comparison, people have got to start taking notice. When you again, this strike has nothing to do with being political, as demonstrated by you yourself, corrector, because like again, you went against your own party and struck,
Mhm.
and that government went ahead, and yeah, I'm sure that y'all were paid for the days that you wrote. So there's a
Yeah.
major difference. Again, they're making, you can see the contrast between these two. So the first thing I want to say in my closing remark is there is no question, and the evidence is clear, just based upon what MP McDonald did when she was when in during the opposition, is the same thing she's doing now. So there's
Mhm.
nobody can
Mhm.
claim that to be, so don't believe this nonsense. I mean, it's political. The second thing that I want to leave here with is there is no question that you cannot have a country with the highest GDP with oil, and they've got the lowest paid teachers in the entire Caribbean.
In the
You know,
entire
when you have countries such as Grenada that is getting 2.5 times the teacher salary. Grenada doesn't produce oil. Dominica that is getting twice. Dominica doesn't produce oil. Those are countries who used to be with folks used to be coming to Guyana to make a living, and now Antigua is making 50% more, almost 50% more than teachers are making. So people need to start holding this government accountable. So when it spout all this nonsense about, well, we can't afford it, we can't afford it. We never had oil before, and now we have oil. We could afford it. There are countries without oil, but it's where the money is going. 58% of the money is going into infrastructure, with a few people who are getting all the contract. That's where the money. Budgets is always about priorities, and when you see wherever the money is going, you see where the priorities and care of the government is, and we see where
Mhm.
it's not. It's not in the care of teachers and folks. Every one of you have kids who are going to school, and it's because of their education, they're going to be the future of this country. So this here is very serious. This should be the top priority, like I said, in building any economy. So the teachers need your support, and and you need to hold the government accountable. So come out in droves, the parents, the children, and then I'm also calling on the GPSU and the other unions to come out. We cannot wait. 2 weeks are over. Don't let us sit and wait. You have to come out. We've got to take the bull by its horn, right? This is the only thing that this government understands.
Yep.
It
Yep.
is the only thing that they understand is getting out into the streets and in mass protest, and that would that's the only success. That's the only way you're going to get success, because these teachers right now, they're struggling. This strike has to end very soon, and the only way it's going to end soon is for everybody, all the unions and parents and kids, to come out. It's that important. It is that important.
Dr. Adams, I keep saying Dr. Hines. Dr. Adams, I want to thank you so much for being with us here. I know for sure that our viewers were enlightened with the kind of information you gave with regards to teachers' salaries across this Caribbean, and more so the bits you threw in about the oil and gas industry and what we're supposed to be expecting. We're going to have to do this again because our viewers must know what is
Anytime.
happening in this country. They must know where our resources are going, and they must be able to question what this government is doing with all the monies that they are receiving, and why is it that they seem to want to shelter this mega company, putting their ordinary citizens at risk. Parents, other viewers, remember, teachers are on the ground. The teachers are saying, slippers on the ground. We not backing down. And we will continue to stand there until this government can recognize us for who we are. So that's all from now on. Advance because take care of We're going to see you next week for more on advancing the cause. But in between that time, be good Guyanese, be careful on the roadways, and ask the hard questions that you don't get the responses for. Be good. May God continue to bless us all.